All right, so let's look at example 3. Example 3 and 4 as well are just going to be multiplying polynomials. Okay, so we have multiplied polynomials before. The common problem that we have done a lot of is multiplying two binomials. Bi, again, meaning a two-term polynomial. We've had problems like this. But what happens when we expand that? So for example, in this one, we have three binomials that we're multiplying together. How do we do that? Well, if we just think about if I multiply, so I have three multiplications here. I'm multiplying three things together. So just like if I were multiplying numbers together, I had 2 times 3 times 4. The way that I would do that is multiply one at a time, right? I would do one multiplication. I'd say, all right, well, what's 2 times 3? Okay, 2 times 3 is 6. All right, now let me multiply that to the next one. 6 times 4. Okay, well, then that gives me one answer of 24. We're going to do the same exact thing here. So we're just going to take the first two polynomials and we're going to say, all right, we'll take these first two and we'll just kind of leave alone the 4a plus 1, but we're going to multiply the first two together. Okay, so we're going to distribute. Okay, the acronym for two binomials, a lot of people remember is FOIL, but we can really just think of it as we're distributing. So I'm going to take 3a times a, and I'm going to take 3a times negative 7. So let me write this down. 3a, that's going to be 3a squared. One thing that we're going to have to remember here when we're multiplying is very basic exponent rules. So if I take if I took x times x, that's x squared. Or if I took x squared times x cubed, that's x to the fifth. Whenever I multiply terms with the same variables, I can add the exponents. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. 3a times a is 3a squared, and then if I continue, 3a times negative 7, that's going to be minus 21a, or I could have put plus a negative 21a like I was doing before. Then we're going to continue, we're going to distribute then the 5 to each of those terms as well. So now we're going to say 5 times a is 5a, and then 5 times negative 7, that's like minus 35. So this is just the first multiplication. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to combine my like terms. So we can combine the a terms. So now I have 3a squared. And then how many a's do I have here? I have negative 16. So minus 16a minus 35 is the result of that first multiplication. So there's my answer for just that, multiplying the first two together. Now we have to just do more, which is just part of it, right? So now I have to just like I did over here, I took 2 times 3 and I got an answer. I got 6. All right, well now let me multiply the next thing together. So now I'm going to take that 4a plus 1 and I'm going to bring that down and I'm going to multiply the 4a plus 1 in there. Okay. All right, so this is, again, this you can't really think about FOIL now because it doesn't work. We got more than 4 terms here. So again, think of it as we're using the distributive property here. Okay, so now we have to distribute each term in the first parentheses by each term in the second parentheses. So I'm going to kind of color code this and say, let's start with 3a squared. I'm going to multiply 3a squared times everything in the second parentheses. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to think of it like this. 3a squared times this one and times this one. Right? So I'm going to write this all out just for, our notes. 3a squared is going to be multiplied by 4a, so times 4a, and then plus, I'm going to take 3a squared and multiply that times 1. So that's times 1. So that's our first distribution right there. Okay, so we did that once. We have to do that 2 more times because we have more terms in this first parentheses. So that was our first one. Now I'm going to color code this. So this goes, I'm going to make that black now. And then now the next term that's up that we're going to distribute is this negative 16a. And we're going to do the same exact thing. So now we're going to take negative 16a and multiply it by both terms inside of the second parentheses, just like before. So I'm going to distribute the negative 16a. So if I write that out, I got 2 more multiplications. I'm going to have negative 16a, again, times 4a, and then plus, again, negative 16a times 1. And then we do it one last time. So I'm going to go to my last term here. I'm going to color code this to be red again. And now let's think about doing the same thing again. So we have negative 35 now, and we're going to distribute negative 35 to both of my terms in that second parentheses. So same thing. So I'm going to add, and now I have negative 35 times 4a and plus negative 35 times 1. Okay, so I'm writing this out. It's, as you do these more and more, if you get really good at these, you don't have to write out this whole thing. You can kind of do that multiplication as you're distributing. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue this on. So if we multiply these, 3a squared times 4a, so that's going to give me 12a cubed plus 3a squared for this one. This one over here is going to be plus a negative 64a squared. Next one will be plus just a negative 16a. Go to the next one. That's going to be plus negative 140a. It's 120 and 20. Yes, negative 140. And then plus negative 35 there at the end. All right, so we kind of have the same thing now that we did in the first example or two. We just have to add all these things together, find our like terms, and simplify it down as much as we can, which our like terms are these a. We have a squareds that are like. We also have just the a terms that are like. And so our final answer would be 12a cubed plus a negative 61a squared plus a negative 156a plus negative 35. And there's our final answer there. So again, this one is obviously more work than just your typical, FOIL here or distribution because we had to do it again. And so the thing that might be different is this part right here, right? We're multiplying a trinomial by a binomial, so there's just simply more things to multiply out. And we think of that as we're going to distribute those things out. So that is example 3.